join the future, right?
So, God help us from the hands of engineers.
Today we are repainting and modifying a Jurassic Park Matchbox Ford Explorer toy that desperately needs to be repainted. First things first, let's go ahead and get it taken apart. These do not have screws at the bottom. You do need to actually drill them out, which is pretty easy. Just get yourself a drill and drill away the bottom part, and you can either put a new screw in yourself, or you can just glue it like I did. And everything, for the most part, pops apart once you get it all taken apart. The interior was already a tan color, but to be movie accurate, we would want to make it a lighter tan color. So we're going to repaint the interior and as well put some additional color effects on the inside, such as the panel, the TV screen, and color that back storage box. Not because we have to, but because we want to. It's fun. It's in front of you. You might as well repaint it. Why not? Now, there are quite a few things that need to be painted on the exterior of the vehicle, such as the lights. And one of the main things that I think drives me nuts is the fact that there is no black outline or paneling around the windows. This needs to be painted on the front as well as the sides, and some of the red on the top. And that includes colorizing the lights on the grille and on the back, where there's actually a black grille over the back lights. So there's a lot of stuff that we can obviously paint and upgrade and update on this. So what I do have in front of me is a precision brush, which is designed for very tight spots. You don't need a lot of paint for these applications. You will need to go over it multiple times, primarily because this is a glossed and finished die-cast model. So putting acrylic paint on metal that's been painted and already glossed and everything else is not easy. So you have to go over it multiple times, but then we'll go over it later with a gloss at the very end so it doesn't come off. But you have to make sure you don't accidentally wipe it away while you're actually painting it, which can be a pain in the butt. So as you can see, I'm actually just going in and replacing this black, and so that it matches. Again, our goal with this whole thing is to match the film version of the Explorer, which they did fine. You know, the Explorer for Matchbox looks like the movie one, but it's not at the same time. And you'll see what I mean later. They actually make a version of this, I think it's Matchbox, that is color accurate, but it's got a sheen. It's almost like a chase version of the vehicle. It's harder to find, and so that one is out there, but it still at the same time doesn't look, the colors are accurate, but again, it's a chase version. It's meant to be kind of shiny and fancy, so it still doesn't quite look right. So that's what we're doing with this one, is we're taking it, we're going to make it more film accurate, put some dirt on it even, and some mud, get the colors more accurate, and I think we're going to be pretty happy with it. Now you can see the difference here between one side and the other now that some of the black is on, and it'll slowly start coming together. And I probably could have taped it off. That's a much it takes a little more time, but it's definitely more accurate. So if I were to put some tape on this and then just went over it with the black, then I could have had better lines. But you'll see my lines are not perfect on the top, bottom, and such, which I need to correct a little bit later. But overall, I don't think it needed to be perfect, but I did want to get that black around it. And here, just adding all the details that I want to. Now, again, this is not really in-depth details. I'm just colorizing certain portions of the interior so that it kind of comes through the acrylic windows a little bit. You know, if somebody who is paying attention will be able to see it, and you know, maybe appreciate it. Somebody who actually is familiar with this stuff can look at it and say, wow, I can't believe you went in there and actually painted that stuff. So for example, this is the little I guess storage container or crate that's in the back where they get the goggles and stuff. And of course, you cannot forget the, what would you call that, orangey, reddish, woody color that is on the interior of the Explorer, where the computer is, and I should say computer, the screen, the TV screen is. And the interior of this is pretty accurate. They did a pretty good job actually making this interior. So all the parts are there. They just need to be painted. So I went in with kind of an orangey red and just kind of filled that void. And then I later put some gray where the screen is, and then just put a few little black dots to represent buttons. But again, I didn't go too crazy, just enough color to shine through and you know, impress the right people. Now I went back in and perfected some of the lines and did multiple coats of that black, like I said earlier, and just trying to make those lines as clean as I can and make that black as dark as possible over that glossed paint job that's already on the diecast model. So again, just going through it, making sure you're not wiping it off with your fingers. And then once that was kind of completed, I did my best to spray it down so that it encased the acrylic paint and protected it so I wasn't pulling it off. And this is when I realized I didn't pull the acrylic out, because I'm smart like that. So yeah, pull the acrylic out, makes everything easier. And the next step on this was to start getting into some of the nitty-gritty details. One of them is the front headlights, which I started with a kind of chrome silvery. It's not just a silver, it's actually an acrylic paint that's made to shine a little bit for obvious reason. So with the old school Explorers, they're pretty simple. It's just got that silver interior, and then I just went around it with the gold. And the gold is the same way. It's an acrylic paint that's designed to shine a little bit. It's got some glitter to it, and same thing with the silver, so that under the right lighting it'll shine a little bit. But it's nothing special because it's for the most part hidden behind the grill, but at least it's there. You know, you'll see it if you look. And the backlights, for the most part, were pretty easy. Just went over those with red, and then once that dried, I went back over it with black to kind of represent that guard, that rear light guard being black, so the red actually shined through pretty well. And here's a much better look at it with the camera, so far at least. So I got the black outline around the windows and some of the small details, such as that headlight and the rear lights. And you can see what I mean. Some of the lines, again, I fixed a little bit later, but there's certainly ways of perfecting those lines if you really wanted to make it perfect. But again, this is a project, so. And I was definitely at a point where I could start putting this together. I highlighted some of the lights and finished up the interior, as you could tell. And next step is to kind of dry fit it a little bit, make sure everything still fits. And in this case, I glued it together. So I actually put a big old dab of glue at the very end, which kept the bottom piece in. Normally you could put a small screw in there, but I did not want to have to deal with that. So I just put a big old dab of Gorilla Glue at the bottom, at the 2 points where it meets, and that seemed to fit fine and worked really well. So if I did need to get back in there, I could just re-drill it out, and it would come apart again. But I think, you know, for a $1.10 toy from the store, I think in reality I probably won't get back in here, but I guess you never know. And there you go. That's what it looks like fit back together. And I did put a coat of matte finish or gloss over it. And I always call it a matte gloss because that's what it is a gloss, but it's a matte finish. And it works fine. And but you can see it's much more accurate. Now there's a lot of stuff I still at this point didn't have on it. I thought I had the coloration correct on the top, which I found out I didn't. So you'll see me from here paint additional on top, which works fine. And there you go, there's the interior. And again, if you're looking, you can see it. And it's the little things, you know, it's the little things that count. So I think if you're like me and you're not a perfectionist, but you want things to be correct, then this is a good outcome. So I had originally painted this, there's this little panel on top of the car that's got 3 spotlights or lights in general. And I thought they were black, and turns out they're not. Turns out it is red, so I should have kept it red, but not a big deal. So I mixed some paint to match that red, which I needed to go in anyways, and correct all of this. So it turns out the entire top is red for the most part. So I repainted that red, and then I went through and actually added red to the front, above the front windshield, and also highlighted some of the reds throughout, and you'll see me kind of finish that. And once that was finished, oh my gosh, suddenly it all came together, and it looks just like the vehicle from the movie. So I think after analyzing the photos that I had and not being scared to kind of get in there and make a mess, I think the end result came out pretty well, especially with this precision brush that I had, which worked really, really well. And there you go. There's the difference between what I had painted and what the end result was. And wow, what a difference it made. I had no idea there was so much red on the top until I actually started looking at the pictures. And I think thank God I made the right red. Could have really messed that up with the wrong red, but I think it came out pretty good. That compared to the original, which I actually already had in my collection, you could see the difference. I mean, it's a night and day. It is interesting how Matchbox got some of the colors so incorrect. I understand they can't be perfect, but gosh. So this is me drilling a hole into the driver's side so I could put a small antenna in there. In the movie, there is a small antenna. So I just took a small piece of wire and drilled a hole and I glued it in there. And then I painted it black. Simple and easy. Now, normally I would use coffee grounds to do this. Works really well. You add coffee grounds to paint, and then add the mixture to your diecast models. It makes it look like there's some dirt and mud that's gotten stuck. In this case, I did not have any coffee grounds because, hey, I didn't need coffee. Eat me. So I ended up using just a mixture of Mod Podge, brown paints, and some gravel, some model making gravel, and it worked fine. I didn't need a lot of it, so I needed just enough of it to represent some mud and dirt. So I think it worked out fine for what it was. I probably could have gone a little darker. And the nice thing about coffee grounds is you get this imperfection. You know, unlike, say, gravel that you purchase is a little too perfect. It's very round pieces and stuff. But coffee grounds is extremely random and imperfect, and it just looks really good as mud. So in this case, what I did was I just took the mixture and I went around and added it to where I felt dirt would accumulate. And there you go.